I'm Cape Joel, and this is Comic Smack, your weekly, daily, all-the-time, anytime comic show where I give you your fix of everything you need to know from the world of comic books and superheroes. And on today's show, we are taking a closer look at Deathstroke number 11. What happens when the Terminator comes face-to-face with the Creeper? Can he overcome? Let's hop on in together and find out, shall we? So this issue was actually getting a fair amount of attention before it was even released, as it was highly publicized that this issue would take a closer look at gun violence in America, specifically in the area of Chicago. In fact, we get a number of very alarming stats and figures thrown at us right away by the cops and clergymen who have shown up at the scene of a major shooting. It's also important I should note that we don't actually see this story through the eyes of Deathstroke. We see it through the eyes of Jack Ryder, who many people remember as the alter ego of fan favorite The Creeper. The story that Jack Ryder ends up stumbling upon is a very dark one indeed. We see a wealthy white woman was buying drugs for her boss in the bad part of town when her car broke down. Two African-American mechanics stopped to help the poor woman out, but she freaked out, pulled a gun, and ended up killing a teenage boy across the street by accident. She then lied to cover her tracks by saying that the two men were attempting to rape her. So yeah, like I said, dark story, definitely not for the faint of heart. It's while investigating this, Jack actually picks up the trail of Deathstroke, his real target. Apparently he's been chasing him all the way from Philadelphia to here now. It seems that a group of concerned mothers managed to gather a massive amount of money to hire Deathstroke to kill the gangbangers responsible for their children's deaths. And seemingly Slade does just that. He metes out bloody revenge all across the city, only in an interesting twist, he doesn't fire a single bullet himself in the whole thing. Almost as if he was trying to send some sort of message to the city at large. Jack asks the mothers a lot of important questions about justice, an eye for an eye, and when the killing stops, all that sort of thing. In fact, the more I think of it, this story actually reminds me very much of one of my favorite Punisher stories, Widowmaker, wherein a bunch of mob wives pooled together to try and kill the Punisher. Jack's comments about actions having reactions ends up being completely on the money because the mothers end up coming under attack by a drive-by. It seems that Deathstroke is now going around and killing everyone who was related to the original killings, a very strange turn of events indeed. Jack, figuring the girl from the beginning of the comic is almost certainly the next victim, he decides to run to her side and protect her as best she can, only that does not work so well for him because the Creeper ends up coming out of him to defend Jack's life. Now, chances are if you were reading one of the Magic Universe books in the New 52, you would know that they pretty much reworked the origins of the Creeper. Well, he's back to his old self now, a fact that the Creeper even kind of breaks the fourth wall and tells the reader. Creeper and Deathstroke end up fighting all up and down the city. In doing so, Deathstroke's mask gets knocked loose, and we discover that, well, it was never actually Deathstroke at all. Instead, an angry, dejected priest with a military background who figured if the police weren't going to deliver justice to all of the families that lost their children, that he would do so himself. Now, Slade does actually show up at the end of the comic, finishing off the priest and indeed wrapping up all this imposter stuff. As he says, it dilutes his brand and isn't good for business. Wow, what a cold motherfucker. Before the comic ends, though, Jack does decide to ask Slade what would he do about all this gun violence in Chicago, and you know what his answer is? Aim better. Deathstroke number 11 is a comic that I think really does a good job highlighting the gray and grayer morality of Slade Wilson. Gun violence is always a hot topic issue, and Chicago has been in the news more and more recently, and the answer that this comic gives to all the problems is no answer at all, honestly. It shows that it's a complicated issue, but in the end, Deathstroke could really care less about complicated issues. All he cares about is getting paid. Even Jack Ryder's reasoning for following this case wasn't really a good one. It's not like he was there to particularly help or anything, he just wanted a chance to meet Deathstroke and write a story about him. And when he did meet Deathstroke, he was scared to death of him, as he really should be. I think one of the strongest things Deathstroke has going for it as a comic right now is that in the rest of DC Rebirth, everything is so bright, feel good, and uplifting. This is kind of the one bleak, sad spot, but that's what makes it so engaging. It's a book and a story that you could really only have with a villainous protagonist like this one. He doesn't mourn the loss of life, he instead gets angry about the sloppiness and all of the killing that's going on. Overall, I think I'd feel comfortable giving this issue an 8 out of 10.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching my newest video. I hope you enjoyed it, and while you're here, why not check out another video I have on offer, or maybe if you're feeling in a supportive mood, you want to like or subscribe. And if you want to support the creation of more videos just like this one, then please by all means check out the Cape Joel Patreon. A little bit goes a very long way, and I will see you all next time.